Imagine a vibrant discussion between people that includes both openness and critical thought in the pursuit of truth. The Purchasing Truth podcast is an experience, a journey, an exploration of the impact that negative messages in politics and the media have on our families, community, society, and nation. Join your hosts, Bill Stierle and Tom Hazard, to discover new concepts and language strategies that will reveal effective ways of establishing truth. This podcast series will tackle current events, leadership challenges, healthcare confusion, integrity in business, and many other areas that affect us all. Gain clarity and understanding of the various truth perspectives. Welcome to Purchasing Truth.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Purchasing Truth. I'm Tom Hazard along with your host Bill Stierle. And Bill, it's very interesting to see what is happening in the Republican Party today, post-inauguration. There's been really some very notable news that is quite telling in terms of what the Republican Party is going through right now.
Yes, very, very challenging right now.
It seems they're having, it's really a very big struggle within the party for leadership and direction. And some really shocking things have happened in regard to that.
Yeah, I feel a little worried and anxious about the Republican Party too, because it's really important to have different voices at the table to discuss different points of view to solve complex issues, not to have, well, we just need the votes to get it done. Instead of, here's the best path forward for America. See, that's the whole idea of having people in the room to talk about things is, and I know at the end of the day, it's the number of the votes that win, and that you get to now get money from your big donors because you have given the tax break, you've done these different things that are valuable to those wealthy individuals that want to have more of a say than the rest of us. And I can appreciate that. If there's one thing about money, if you have it and there's a bunch of it and you feel good about it, you get to spend it on that thing. But when we're purchasing truth like this, it's not the best course. Now, it's like, is it the best course to make a decision that is based on fiscal responsibility, or to make a financial decision based on growth? Now, people are not going to argue with me the way I just framed that, fiscal responsibility and growth. But as soon as I put Republican and Democrat on those two things, then it's we need to save the money, except for when we want to spend the money, and we don't want, and we're looking for a growth opportunity or a risk that might not work out, but at least it's better than what we have. See, the two parties are not because of money in the system now. They're not able to have that collaborative vote across what is the best way forward for America. They caucus, they're entrenched, and they're not allowing truth on the best course forward. So very, very challenging. And it looks like that three very prominent Republicans are caught in the crosshairs of this discussion.
Boy, it sure does. So the news is that, the Arizona Republican Party has censured three prominent Republicans in Arizona. And I didn't even know the Arizona Republican Party as a body had a mechanism of censure. I thought that was like a government legislative thing, but I don't know. Who knows? Maybe they have a process. But the party is sending a very clear signal that the party leadership of Arizona remains loyal to former President Donald Trump because they voted to punish. That's what censure really means, to punish their own Arizona Republican governor, Doug Ducey, former Senator Jeff Flake, and Cindy McCain, John McCain's widow, because they all oppose Trump's effort to overturn President Joe Biden's, victory in the election here in 2020.
As well as advocate, as well as for Cindy McCain, as well as saying, I ain't voting for that guy. There's no way I'm voting for that guy. I am voting for the guys with a heavy heart. I'm voting away from my party. And she talked about how she was torn about it. She goes like, I'm not happy about this.
Well, and she did get a lot of heat for it. And actually, Jeff Flake did the same thing. He came out and said he was not voting for Trump. So it's really signaling, at least in Arizona, whoever the powers that be are with the Republican Party are really signaling a move further to the right and in support of, Trump's policies, his candidacy, everything really he's about. So here's the struggle. That's not just a salvo. That's, that's like a seismic shift.
Correct. Yeah. The situational, the situational choice to say, we don't want you three people to speak, is unsettling from a free speech place, only because they are sharing their point of view, and their point of view has weight to it. It carries votes. It is, this thing. And we're trying to repair the Titanic as it's sinking. And we're going to fight, we want you guys to be fly. I know you're in the engine room here, but we're going to make you drowned under this thing. So see, freedom of speech is to be fought from all of us, to fought for. You get to say stuff just so it doesn't break the law and harm others. And we can be pissed about it, but you can't say stuff unless it breaks the law or it harms others. Now, harm others, well, if you're saying something, if you're calling somebody and harassing somebody on the phone, and you keep calling them and harassing them and threatening them, that is saying something and is against the law. But this case is freedom of speech. No. I just want freedom with my speech. I don't want freedom with your speech. And we've got to pay attention to what balance, equanimity is, and remember what value we're fighting for. And that's a big problem about why the split is kind of taking place, is because you can't split that. And we can really see that many of the Republican voters and congressmen and senators are really struggling with this piece. They're struggling with, I can't play the middle line. I can't say something in the middle, or otherwise people are calling me not loyal, and they do not want to be called not loyal.
Well, and, you see this struggle going on, not just in Arizona. Now, clearly in Arizona, the Republican Party is trying to firmly establish who they are and what they're about. And in Arizona, they certainly, can do that. But you see this happening in other areas of the country and in our federal representation of government, there were 10 representatives in the House of Representatives that voted to impeach President Trump. And there are also senators in the Senate, the United States Senate, that are really not wanting the Republican Party to become the party of Trump. He's gone and they want to kick him out the door. So on for one example, in the House, you've got Liz Cheney, who is probably the highest ranking Republican to vote to impeach Donald Trump for inciting insurrection. And it's very interesting because I was reading just today that some of the other, there's in particular, another Republican from the House of Representatives that is going to Wisconsin, Liz or Wyoming, which state is hers? Wyoming. Going to Wyoming to speak against her in her own state. So she's now getting challenged within her own party in her own state. That's not party unity. And then Mitch McConnell is notably not said he's going to vote against convicting Donald Trump of impeachment. In fact, he's very much left the door open that he might vote to. Oh,
you and I need to take a bet. We need to make a bet on this. Okay. All right. The bet is that, do you think Mitch McConnell is going to vote to impeach Trump? Where is he going to land? Where is he going to land? He won his thing. He's in for another 6 years. He can retire after 6 years. It's
a good question. I think I know enough not to bet on that in any meaningful way, because one thing I believe about Mitch McConnell is he was very embarrassed when John McCain gave him the thumbs down on repealing the Affordable Care Act. He didn't expect it. He expected McCain to vote with the party. Mitch McConnell doesn't vote usually except on what he believes and knows is going to be the winning side.
That's right.
So he doesn't want to vote for impeachment unless Trump is going to be convicted, kicked out, and never can hold federal office again. I believe he's working behind the scenes to try to achieve that outcome because he doesn't like where the Republican Party is going. This very struggle we're talking about in Arizona, I don't think he likes it. If he thinks that he's got enough people on board behind the scenes, as long as he comes out and voices it and takes the initial flack for all those other senators, right? Then they'll come along with him. So he's got to make a bit of a calculated risk and bet. So I honestly, Bill, I'd like to believe that McConnell can achieve that. I don't know if he can. And so I don't know that I think I would only bet enough that I'm willing to lose on that one. What do you think? What's your take on it?
It's really, really tough because if we empathize with Mitch McConnell where he is, he's going to feel torn because he does not take a chance unless he is going to win. It's like this. And he is not going to vote to give oxygen to ideas, concepts, and thoughts that he can't contain. He's not managing votes. He's managing the narrative. That's what we've got to remember. He's not managing votes. Well, yeah, partly, but he just doesn't want it to be a news cycle. So I am not going to put this up for a Senate vote because if it's not up for a Senate vote, nobody is going to report on it. It didn't make it. So news people are not, they're not running a story when he stonewalls stuff, which is really what they need to do is this, I would request anybody that's staying in the way of American growth and prosperity, you got to report on that. You've got to report on that this person is preventing democracy from taking place because they're not doing their job by voting on stuff they're supposed to vote on. He goes like, I'm not sending it to the floor because I don't want a discussion about it. So in this case, though, I would say I might be wrong about this, but I think he stays as the Grim Reaper.
So you think he's going to vote to convict Trump?
No.
Okay, that's not that Grim Reaper. Okay,
he's he's not that one. Okay. He wants to cut off this narrative, from moving forward, and let the battle take place in public opinion. Don't let the battle take place on my things, because he's the person that, if he says, you know what, I'm breaking with this, everybody, there are many, many, many people that will follow him. Over 17 people will follow him if he says, I'm voting for this. We cannot do this. Now, this is tough because they got what the Republicans really miss in this is all they have to do is make it unanimous. And then the 73 million people have to suck it.
Very interesting. So if it's
all they got to do is make it unanimous, then they own it.
It's defensible, right?
It's defensible. Just make it unanimous. We've all decided that this was unanimous. He spoke up. Then I don't like this, but he can't make it unanimous because he's got like a dozen of them standing on the stage that are part of it, including. So Ted Cruz isn't going there. Holly's not going there because they've already gambled.
Yeah, they staked their political future
on this. And because they know in their state, their voters, and, will this be the last 6 years of Ted Cruz, or does he get to be a Lindsey Graham that gets, starts going around Texas and kissing butt again and pretending like he's a moderate, but it's really hard. Because it's not like Nixon didn't get to the top by just hanging around long enough until he was the guy, and they didn't have anybody else to put up. So it's really, really unsettling, and it's very, very hard.
It is very unsettling, and it really shows you though how serious this fracture is in the Republican Party. I mean, there is this idea that, led by Trump, there might be a third party formed, the Patriot Party. And of course, every day there's a different article. There's, the former president has been talking about it and talking to others about forming another party. And then you hear people coming out, no, he's not really considering it. And, that sort of news leans whichever way the wind blows on a given day. But it's really, it's easy to see how there is such a struggle that this Republican Party may very well split into two. And it's not fostering unity within their own party, which also makes unity of our entire country that's been so deeply divided in two, could be divided sort of into three different factions here. It's going to make unity that much harder. And it's sobering for sure.
When Ross Perot ran, and many of our viewers listeners might remember how that went and how that looked when you had three different parties on the stage, and Ross Perot had the money and had the support and had the narrative of the business community. And so Bush and the Republicans were in trouble because he siphoned off the conservative business vote into his column, and that allowed Clinton to be elected.
It really did. I mean, I'm sure a lot of our listeners remember, but if there are any that don't or weren't really politically aware at the time, I mean, Bill Clinton does not get elected without Ross Perot and his new party at the time.
The struggle that we have, Tom, is that because the Republicans are in the place of having two of their camps being pulled apart, they have the short memory of what it was like. They have the long-term memory, but the short memory of what it's like to have a divided party with Ross Perot and Bush being the two conservative voices on the stage. So they split their vote and Clinton got elected. Now, the challenge is, can Trump get the money and support that Ross Perot got? Can he come back in and have enough money to go there again? Well, the people that donated to him and all the voters that came out for him would say, yeah, there's 73 million people. He is and is viable to this, because there was the thought that we don't want to go back to what's normal, but they at this point, they can't even remember what was normal back then. They can't, all they remember is, or all that's in, not all, the challenge is that when the mind of an individual gets set in a direction, it's hard to be objective. When an emotion shows up, our brain shuts down. If we feel frustrated or irritated by something, we stop thinking. Our higher functions start going down. We don't think as clearly when you're frustrated or angry. You just don't. And this is where I'm compassionate for, the people that, stormed the Capitol. I'm compassionate because they're angry, they're furious about what they've been told and what their narrative was to believe to be. And if the message wasn't as sloppy, it would have been worse. I mean, their message, their narrative was not as strong as any authoritarian or any fascist or it wasn't as strong as some of those narrative that locks the person into a belief structure. It's not to say that fascism, no, it's to say that there's certain languages that get certain results, and the results of division just to get votes at the expense of the nation has problems to it, because there is a lot of people that we need to cooperate and collaborate with, and it's very, very difficult. And we are sitting in a place of, will we vote for the rule of law, or will we vote for the concept of loyalty to a party and party over the nation, and which is really, really problematic right now.
It is really problematic. It's very interesting. I want to offer one more thought, and then I know we're going to, need to wrap this up here. But one more thought is that I think it would have been much harder for Trump to get elected in 2016 if he were not the Republican nominee. Can he get enough money? Well, on its face, maybe, but isn't there something about the Republican Party establishment? And once he got the nomination, all these Republicans that did not like Trump and did not want Trump, all of a sudden get behind him and are like, okay, he's our nominee. We're all going to vote for him. Maybe we would have preferred somebody else. But if Trump didn't get the Republican nomination and ran as a third party candidate, it might have been very, very different outcome. And now that he's been the Republican nominee and the president and is no longer the president, if he were to start a third party, now he kind of has that Republican credibility he kind of takes with him. I don't know. It's a different dynamic than the whole Ross Perot thing. But one thing's for sure, it's going to be a heck of a struggle. There's going to be a bit of a civil war, it seems, within the Republican Party. And they're going to be quite disorganized for a while, don't you think?
They're struggling because they haven't groomed leadership and messaging behind anybody else. And that's really why he kind of swept in and just batted everybody across. Is Marco Rubio going to stay in there and be president after all the things he said and did? Is the nation going to follow Ted Cruz like they followed Nixon? No, I don't think they are, because there's just not enough there. There's so many weak spots all over the place for both of those two folks. Lindsey Graham, is Lindsey Graham going to lead the Dixiecrats forward? It's really hard.
The only one who clearly is waiting in the wings and not a fan of Trump very vocally so is Ben Sasse, senator of Nebraska, I believe. He's definitely positioned himself.
He is in a much better spot.
Much better spot, but he's not going to appeal to the diehard Trump voter. He is definitely trying to take the Republican Party back.
Yeah, but they have no place to go. The diehard Trump voter has no place to go. And if Ben Sasse plays that very well, then what winds up happening is that they go, well, I ain't voting for the other guy. Well, I guess I'll vote for our team. So he has little. The little volatility that's there is that he's able to kind of sit in the middle and might be that broker. But I guess the hard part of this is that are we going to be fall under the spell is with this freedom of speech, because I know where we started here, which is what to say or do. Does one voice gets to be silent? No. The most difficult thing that the Republican Party is going to do is that it's going to need to reconcile is to start fighting for and standing for values. You can't run a party off of Lindsey Graham flopping back and forth or Rubio flopping back and forth. They've got to stand someplace, somewhere in integrity to have the top job. As that comes out of my mouth, I then realize that, well, they voted for somebody that didn't stand for values. And so maybe this is the game. The game is we get to say what we want. All we got to do is trash you enough, and our people stay loyal and stay our side. And we just got to back it off when we can to a tone that is acceptable, and we'll bring our moderates back. And that might be the way it goes. I
don't know. I hope I want to talk more about that integrity piece, in the future, because I think that's a big issue that deserves a little attention. Yeah, because that's shocking to me.
It really is. It really is. And I think that we can take a look at truth and relativism. We could take in truth regarding heads I win, tails you lose narrative, and both of those places are a good place to stick this one to really just to do some really really important honesty and stuff. So
okay,
all right.
Thanks, Bill. I look forward to it.
All right, bye.
Thank you for listening to this Purchasing Truth podcast. We trust that you have enjoyed this engaging and thought-provoking conversation. Our hope is that you've received value, found clarity, and broadened your truth perspective in this episode. If you did, leave us a review or visit our website, purchasingtruth.com. Join us again for another informative and content-rich discussion here at the Purchasing Truth podcast. Don't just accept whatever information comes your way. Join the discussion. Discover your own voice. Purchase your own truth.